Hi, I'm William Mills here at FinovateSpring in San Francisco, and I've got the pleasure of being joined by Frank Rocha, Director of Marketing for Financial Services for Nuxeo. How are you doing today, Frank?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to your session later today where you talk about the future of branch banking. What has your experience here at Finovate been like both this time and your New York visit?
Actually it's been a very beneficial experience. We've got to meet with not only a lot of individuals who actually work in the industry, but a lot of Fintechs have established a lot of potential partnerships, so it's been a very good experience.
Super, super. Well, from what I understand, you bring a unique perspective as both a customer and a provider of technology. How do you think the customer experience is going to change in terms of the coming years, in terms of the future of banking?
Oh gosh. It's an interesting dilemma, I think, for banks in that they're having to essentially serve two unique generational cohorts. So you still have the baby boomers who prefer a much more hands-on, I think, approach to banking. But then you've got the millennials who I believe just this year have overtaken the baby boomers as the #1 consumer segment in the country. And they tend to be more of a hands-off kind of group when it comes to dealing with their banks, but at the same time, I don't think you can completely eliminate the human element out of banking. There are still going to be circumstances where people want to have that face-to-face, want to have that personal relationship. The banks just have to kind of figure out where you draw that line, essentially redefining what that branch banking experience is going to be.
Well, there's been a lot in the financial industry about the millennials, but what's your take on Gen Z? I think they're going to be significantly different, but I can't tell how.
Yeah, I can't tell how either. I mean, personally, I am the parent of a couple of millennials, and so it's interesting to see how they interact with their financial institutions, much different than I normally would. Okay. The next generation after that, who knows? I mean, right now we're just kind of dealing with that digital native versus digital migrant kind of mix where my generation kind of had to adapt to technology.
Right.
Our children were born into it, so they have a totally different perspective and level of expectation. The next generation after that, who knows? That's going to be interesting. I think that's yet to be determined.
Well, Frank, I've seen over my career, I've seen banks and Fintechs have kind of adversarial relationships. Now they're very tight with incubators and those types of things. How do you see banks and Fintechs working together in the coming years?
I think they're going to have to. I don't think that banks can continue to develop technology organically at the speed to keep up with the demand of the new consumer. On the other hand, you're right, it has been, I think, adversarial in the past because the Fintechs come in, they carve off specific segments like payments and money transfers and things like that have been traditional revenue streams for the banking industry. So, interesting at some point, you have to believe that a Fintech that gets a good stronghold eventually is going to say, I don't need a bank, I can stand on my own.
What parts of financial technology do you think we're going to see the most rapid adoption in the coming years?
Certainly it's going to be anything that is going to drive speed. As we look at the new financial institutions that are coming up, they're very much of a mindset that not only do they have to deliver products and services faster, but the decisions that they make have to be faster as well. So you can't necessarily throw bodies at, for example, a mortgage lending process to make it faster. I mean, you could, but it's not very scalable model. So the thing that I see predominantly on the horizon right now is going to be AI.
Right.
That is unfortunately a buzzword right now. I think a lot of it is being overused. It's going to be the practical application of AI that I think is really going to define the market going forward.
Well, you know, speaking of AI, what aspects or what functionalities of AI do you think will be the most prevalent in the financial industry in the coming years?
So you're going to be looking at real-time decisioning, I think is predominantly going to be the use case. Being able to remove the mundane tasks from the day-to-day banking environment. So just simplistic transaction-based things I think will be highly AI-based in the future, leaving the knowledge worker to focus on the more complex transactions and allowing them to have more of a hands-on approach with their customers and kind of leave the rest to automation.
Well, thank you again, Frank. Appreciate your time. This is William Mills with Frank Rocha at FinovateSpring in San Francisco.